The Corpus Hermeticum and Hermeticism are essential for understanding the Nag Hammadi Library and the concept of emanation in Valentinian thought. While many modern scholars and spiritual seekers attempt to compare Gnostic texts with Eastern traditions such as Hinduism and Buddhism, this approach often leads to misunderstandings. The Nag Hammadi Library is best understood within its own historical and theological context, which is deeply rooted in Hellenistic and early Christian thought rather than Eastern mysticism. Hermetic texts in the Nag Hammadi Library. The Nag Hammadi Library contains 3 Hermetic texts. 1. The Discourse on the 8th and 9th, NHC VI, a dialogue describing an ascent through the celestial spheres to divine illumination. 2. The Prayer of Thanksgiving, NHC VI, a praise of divine knowledge, similar to passages in the Corpus Hermeticum. 3. The excerpt from the Perfect Discourse, NHC VI, a fragment from the Asclepius, a Hermetic text that emphasizes the relationship between divine intellect and the created world. These texts illustrate that early Christian and Gnostic groups were influenced by Hermetic thought. In particular, Valentinianism shares with Hermeticism a structured view of divine emanation, where the unknowable source extends itself into various levels of existence. The role of emanation in Valentinianism and Hermeticism. In Valentinian cosmology, emanation is the process by which the Father, the primal depth, brings forth divine attributes, known as aeons. These aeons manifest in a structured order, with the first emanations being mind, nous, and truth, followed by word, logos, and life, leading to humanity and ecclesia. The pleroma, or fullness of divine reality, consists of these emanations, all of which remain within the divine realm, except for the final, flawed emanation, Sophia's misguided desire for knowledge. Hermeticism also operates within an emanationist framework. The Corpus Hermeticum describes how nous, divine intellect, comes forth from the unknowable One, creating the intelligible and material worlds. However, it is important to clarify the nature of nous in Hermeticism. Nous is not corporeal in the sense of having a physical body, but it is substantial. It possesses ontological reality and is not merely an abstraction. Unlike later Platonic thought, which treats nous as purely immaterial, Hermeticism presents it as an active, creative force with a kind of spiritual corporeality. It is not a material entity, but it is a real, substantial presence that emanates, influences, and guides. The Corpus Hermeticum describes this emanation. The One is the source of all things, and from it comes nous, which is the craftsman of the cosmos. It is filled with the creative fire, and through it all things come into being. Corpus Hermeticum, Sepsent 2. In some passages, nous is depicted as a form of light or fire, reinforcing its dynamic and active role in the divine order. This light is a spiritual power sent forth from the One. It moves all things and is itself moved by nothing. It is the vital force within all that lives. Corpus Hermeticum 13.2. This understanding of nous aligns with the Valentinian concept of aeons within the pleroma, real, substantial emanations rather than abstract metaphysical principles. Just as nous in Hermeticism is an active structuring force within creation, so too does nous in Valentinianism play a key role in the divine order. The Corpus Hermeticum further describes how humanity possesses a portion of nous and is called to recognize it within. If you realize within yourself that which is divine, then you will return to that which is divine. Corpus Hermeticum 3.9. This mirrors the Valentinian belief that the divine attributes emanating from the pleroma must be restored within the believer to achieve spiritual wholeness. Why the Nag Hammadi Library should not be compared to Eastern traditions. Many attempt to link the Nag Hammadi Library to Hindu and Buddhist ideas, but this is a misreading of the texts. While superficial similarities exist, such as the idea of illusion, Maya in Hinduism, and ignorance in Gnostic thought, the underlying frameworks are different. 1. Distinct cosmology. Hinduism often views reality as a cycle of rebirth, where the ultimate goal is merging with Brahman or realizing Atman. Gnosticism and Hermeticism, by contrast, focus on a structured divine hierarchy of emanations. The goal is not merging with an impersonal absolute, but restoring one's place within the divine pleroma. 2. The role of Nu versus Atman. In Hindu Vedanta, Atman is one's true self, identical to Brahman. In Hermeticism and Valentinian thought, nous is the divine intellect, an active principle that must be cultivated to ascend spiritually. Moreover, unlike Atman, which is considered ultimately identical to the universal absolute, nous in Hermeticism remains a distinct, substantial principle that emanates from the One. 3. Creation versus illusion. Hindu and Buddhist traditions often describe the world as an illusion, Maya. The Nag Hammadi texts and Hermeticism, however, present a cosmos shaped by emanation, where the material world is the result of a flawed demiurge or an intermediary divine action, not an illusion to be escaped. The Corpus Hermeticum emphasizes this distinction. God did not create the world as an illusion, but as a reality filled with his power. It is only those who do not understand who see it as a shadow. Corpus Hermeticum, X4. This demonstrates that, unlike Eastern traditions, Hermeticism views creation as a structured reality, not as an illusion to be dissolved. Conclusion. The Corpus Hermeticum and the Hermetic texts in the Nag Hammadi Library provide a crucial foundation for understanding Valentinian Gnosticism. Both systems share an emanationist framework that distinguishes them from Eastern traditions. Attempts to compare these texts with Hindu or Buddhist concepts obscure their true meaning. The key to unlocking the Nag Hammadi Library lies in understanding its Hellenistic, Jewish, and early Christian influences, particularly through the lens of Hermeticism. By incorporating these direct quotations, we can better appreciate the depth of Hermetic thought and its relevance to Valentinianism. The Corpus Hermeticum does not present a purely immaterial philosophy, but one deeply rooted in the substantial reality of divine emanation.